Welcome to the Party Lines, where we look at the big issues, some political, some not so political, and address them from both sides of the aisle. It's been roughly a year since U.S. President Donald Trump ignited a trade war with sweeping tariffs. Canada's response was to fight back by limiting imports of American goods or outright banning them altogether. But what has the impact been on the national pride? Let's take a look at this clip.
At this decisive moment, Canadians are demonstrating just how strong we are. You know, it started quietly. People choosing a wine from the Okanagan over one from California. Anyone had any bourbon recently? No, I don't think so, no. Sorry. A family planning a vacation to Prince Edward Island instead of booking flights to Florida. Canadians are rediscovering our country. The Cabot Trail in October. The Columbia Icefield in June. Le Festival International de Jazz à Montréal en juillet. The prairies at harvest where the sky goes on forever. You know, Canada's tourism sector had a record-breaking summer, 50,000 more train rides, 13% more visits to our national parks, 15% more visits to our national museums. Small individual acts of solidarity, but repeated millions of times. And together, they make a statement. We are the masters of our destiny.
I'm not a big bourbon drinker. Some good points there, some political speak. The tourism side is what really sticks with me. And I think there is some buy Canadian sentiment still, obviously. I'm not sure if that's as much pride in Canada as it are disdain for the US right now.
It could be both. It could, two things can be true at once. And I like the fact that in this convention speech that he's focusing on the fact that, you know, not everything needs to be outside of Canada, that we can see what hidden gems we have in our own backyards. And I know myself personally, I've traveled more, you know, nationally or internationally than I have within Canada. And it has been nice trying to figure out, do we take a road trip, you know, to see PEI?
You don't, because the gas is too high.
Oh, yeah, well, I think some people are going to have to revisit that. But I just mean breaks for like the parks, right? Parks Canada for free passes for you to go and visit as a family. So there are incentives along the way that maybe we didn't necessarily think we needed, or because we did have such a great relationship to the north, you know, with our U.S. allies. That
why do we need to give free things away, though, if people are traveling already? That doesn't make any sense to
me.
To
incentivize them, because sometimes people don't really think of camping within Canada, right? Like people think of going to different national parks outside the U.S. And so things like that help families kind of get redirected to our own museums, and all that's kind of part of that.
The park side, we can argue. I mean, you look at the provincial parks in Ontario; they're always full. So it's. I don't think that needs to be incentivized. I think it was interesting. He just randomly started naming places. I actually giggled during the clip because I was waiting for, there's things that no one has even heard of in what he's saying, but he just randomly started shouting out places. It's like being at a concert and saying, "Hello, Edmonton."
Right, and that's what they want, because rural riding's still like they're left out all the time, right? So that's exactly it.
I don't think it's just, I think it's not just a buy Canadian thing. I think we look at it as a buy local. Because, look at the grocery side. It's supporting your independent shops. It's supporting those type of things. So, there is definitely buy Canadian sentiment. This is a rah-rah speech at a convention in front of his loyal followers.
Right.
And he's riding away right now. So good for him as far as celebrating it. But I would definitely say our buy Canadian or Canadian pride, whatever that is more so we're brought together because of a common, I don't want to use the term enemy, but common, I don't have a better term, opponent, we'll say right now.
Right. And hey, as a family, we would have been looking at Disney.
Yeah.
We would have been looking at those kind of things ahead of time, but now I think you are trying to revisit.
But is that because of Trump, or is that because of how expensive things are?
It's a combination, but there are incentives with Disney trying to get Canadians back, and that wasn't even enough, right?
I agree.
there are certain things that when we come back, we're going to address a recent floor crossing and whether the Liberal Party is setting itself up for a culture clash. So stay tuned after the break.
You say yes, I say no on the party line, so let's go.
Welcome back. MPs like Marion Gladue, who have crossed the floor to the Liberals, helped contribute to the party's securing majority. But with that, they also brought their own ideologies that may not align with the government. Watch this clip.
As Liberals, we're passionate about building a strong economy as a means to a just society. Hear, hear. A just society anchored in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, where women always have the right to choose. Where you can believe what you want to believe, where you can love who you want to love, where everyone can be their entire selves and all have a chance to thrive. As Liberals, we believe in a just society where we take care of the vulnerable, where we pull together to make life more affordable today and better tomorrow.
This sounds wonderful. We're everything to everyone. It's like an Everclear song. I think there's problems with how do you actually define what this Liberal Party is now?
I would say it's the opposite. I would say he's brought us back to the center. A lot of people are saying that was center right. Now that we see someone like Dolly that just won, and she was a former NDP, and she was the deputy, premier. And so when you have all these different ideologies that are coming into this new government, it only lends itself that way. It doesn't just make it one subset. I think it's just great that we can come back to the center, because that's usually where the party governs from. And if, again, I'll go back to the Chrétien era, and it's looking very similar. And I think that's what he brings by having those roles as a governor, previously, like the bank governor, where he's worked with various parties. So he didn't have to be partisan in any way. So he was able to address certain issues across the board. Yeah. And so I think that's why there's so many people that wanted to cross, and that we'll still see more floor crossings.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see more. We'll see. That's TBD. He can still recruit. You can almost recruit for fun now, because he's recruited. He's got his majority. That's not an issue.
It's slim, and there's still going to possibly.
It's not slim right now.
But it is, because if he loses Nate Erskine-Smith,
right, that's
because then you lose your majority. Like
he's at 174. Right
because there is also another that might leave to go to NDP as well. So
right now he's got a comfy cushion. He's got a comfy cushion right now,
right?
And he's got 3 years. Let's see what he does. I just think from a policy perspective, and yes, you're right. I've said it many times. He moved the party back to center quicker than I thought. Kudos for him. I didn't think the speed of what he did it. We're not talking now. I was talking back to the end of last year. I couldn't believe how quickly he did it. But the fact that you've got Gladue, who is far right, where she's a social conservative, and you've got Dolly on the far left. How do you come up with policy? What does that look like? How do you're appeasing you're everything to everyone. So how you have policy, how you pay for it, I would love to see that too. Because what he just basically said is he promised the world to everyone. We're all going to have what we want. That's just not the way things work.
Because we need supports. Plus we need sovereignty.
How do we pay for it?
That's the point of the gas, right? When everyone's saying, why aren't you getting rid of all the taxes?
Right.
So again, you have to be fiscally responsible. You have to have supports that will help people in place. And I think that's exactly what he's showing and what he's doing. So even coming out of the majority, and again, the first thing is an affordability measure. The next thing is meeting with a premier that we want to do a major project, for the Churchill port.
Right.
So those are the kind of steps that Canadians want to see. They don't want the spin. They don't want the political speak. They want to see action. And that's what we're going to see in this government in time. So, let's give them that leeway to do that. And if they mess up, well, they can't say it's the opposition.
Right. And I get that. I just don't understand how helping Canadians with the gas cut, the excise tax, I totally get. But then there's also all these new spending announcements. So to me, you're bringing in less revenue, and I'm wearing my business hat. You're increasing costs and decreasing income. That model does not work. Like it just over time, it does not work. So
We'll have to see the spring projection that they have.
well, they've
for
already
the
got a
update,
print. I saw
right?
them
Yeah.
holding something today, and we'll see
Right?
because these aren't going to be recognized in that. At the end of the day, we're spending like drunken sailors still. We need to actually, if we're going to cut stuff, we need to not, if we're not bringing in, we need to not spend.
And I think that's going to be retooling, and that's why we have to see all these major announcements, especially with defense. So we're going to see where that goes. But after the break, we're going to revisit past warnings about Donald Trump and see where they're, whether they've aged well or whether that prediction was accurate. Stay with us.
You say yes, I say no on the party line, so let's go.
Welcome back. There's a clip that's circulating right now online of Hillary Clinton warning about then candidate Donald Trump's policies and the catastrophic impact on America and the world. This was about 10 years ago. Was she wrong? Take a look.
He is not just unprepared. He is temperamentally unfit to hold an office that requires knowledge, stability, and immense responsibility. This is not someone who should ever have the nuclear codes, because it's not hard to imagine Donald Trump leading us into a war just because somebody got under his very thin skin. We cannot put the security of our children and grandchildren in Donald Trump's hands. We cannot let him roll the dice with America. This is a man who said that more countries should have nuclear weapons, including Saudi Arabia. This is someone who has threatened to abandon our allies in NATO, the countries that work with us to root out terrorists abroad before they strike us at home. He believes we can treat the U.S. economy like one of his casinos and default on our debts to the rest of the world, which would cause an economic catastrophe far worse than anything we experienced in 2008.
Interesting clip and what she said. Honestly, I think it would have been more relevant if she said it in 2020.
Right.
Because in 2016, he really didn't do anything. And that was a criticism of his first term, is like that stuff never came to fruition. Now, his second term, that's a whole different concept of what's going on right now. And if what she had said in 2020, I would have said she's bang on. Maybe she just predicted the future. The funny thing is people forget way back when Trump was a Democrat, and the Clintons and the Trumps were good friends. I think that's fascinating what had happened back then, to, all the things that were said in the campaigns, et cetera, between the Clintons and Trump. But I can't argue that she got anything wrong in that from this current event.
Right. That's her told you so moment. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the most frustrating part is the people that did know what he was capable of and were trying to warn, whether it was Hillary or Camilla or anybody at all, were really disappointed in the American public for voting him back in, not just like after the insurrection and having all these awful things that took place, but only to hand him the keys to the kingdom to, like, what is the repercussions? There aren't any. So if that was something that he did and it was in democratic society where he's trying to overthrow, the ruling and saying that he actually should have won the election back then, why did they think anything different was going to come out of this administration?
Well, the Democrats didn't perform, first of all. The country said they didn't perform, and that's why Trump got elected, which they didn't. There's a lot of things that both sides of the aisle, maybe not publicly say, but, border security, opioid crisis. There's a bunch of things that happened under the Democrats' watch that, as a country, they weren't happy with. So they brought Trump in to fix the economy, all the rest of what it was. They didn't bring him in to do what he's doing right now. What's being done to the economy, and I'm not just talking about the U.S. economy globally. She was right, and I should have said 2024, not 2020. But yeah, she was right. I wonder, they could have just put that on a loop in 2024, I thought. But if she would have played it again in 2024, people would say, what are you talking about? He didn't do it last time.
I just think it's so funny that they went to the hearings, right? Her and Bill showed up, but everybody else is dodging it. Like Clinton at least said, here we are. If you're going to put me to this kind of standard, do it to the president as well. Yep. And when they want to say release emails, but then they're supposed to be releasing the Epstein files and they redact everything. So all of this hypocrisy that we're seeing play out is going to show in the midterms. Yeah.
Bill should have stayed home, though. After doing that, and you watched him, I mean, he's smiling looking at some of the pictures. So So Clinton's hearing didn't go as well as they thought it was going to.
But I think Hillary at this point is separating herself even from that, right?
Absolutely.
And at this point, it's like she's not going down with that ship, and it's basically like,
Which
okay,
time?
let's have the accountability, right?
Yep.
And that's what we need to see. You can't have princes losing titles in Europe and all the rest of the stuff, and not one person has been charged, right, in America.
Yeah, it's insane on that side of it for sure. But that's not a partisan issue. There's both sides of the aisle involved. That's just an ugly issue.
Absolutely.
All around.
Right.
That's not a Democrat Republican thing because they were all partying together. It's a different I would say type of issue. It's non-political.
I'm just leading
it's a
us
power
there,
issue.
right?
That's not non-political.
Yeah, I'm just leading us there in that dialogue because it's just one standard, right, for him to have said during the election, right, released her emails and trying to point fingers of all the corruption.
Do as they say, not as they do.
Absolutely, yes. We'll be right back to discuss the New York City mayor's war over wages in that city.
I love no hate, don't waste time. That's where I got my party line, so let's go.
Welcome back. Earlier this month, New York City Mayor Zoran Mandani released the preliminary citywide racial equity plan, REP, and the inaugural New York City true cost of living measure. Two reports make it clear that New York City's affordability crisis is deeply tied to its history of racial inequality. Take a look.
What we've seen, it's a report that is both coupled with a true cost of living report, is that the inequities in this city, the racial inequities, are stark. We are talking about findings that have shown that the wealth of a median white household in the city is more than $200,000, while that of a black household is less than $20,000. This is not an indictment of any one New Yorker. It is an indictment, however, of policies and politics that have persisted for far too long.
Well, Woody didn't mention in that clip that this was a rewritten report that wasn't released under the former Mayor Eric Adams, who is a man of color. So that was basically, I didn't like the report, so we've tweaked it and made it more to our liking. And there's a wage inequality. Well, there's a wage inequality. You can pick men or women. You can pick, there's a lot of wage inequality.
There's tons of catch up to do.
100%. But his way of doing it is driving the businesses out. So he's going to achieve wage equality because there's going to be no high-paying jobs anymore in New York City. He's going to achieve it by making things worse.
But don't you think those people that are credible will stay and they'll see that there's that inequity and they should stay there because he's saying the out loud part that everybody knows is the case,
when
right?
Your job moves to Florida, you're not staying there. When the head offices of business are no longer going to stay there based on the policies of what the mayor is going to be doing and what he's proposed, the fear he's putting in, and that's a lot of it. Whether he does stuff or not, the fear of what he says causes business decisions which he doesn't understand. And the plans he's already suggested, free transit. Oh shoot, we can't do that one. Property taxes. Guess what, everyone? It's going up 10%. This is making it worse. It's going up 10% on those people with low wages as well. So it's still regardless if you're rich or you're poor, that 10% is across the board.
I see it differently. I think that consumers want to justify their spending differently, right? We saw that even with Target, if we're looking at the States, right? If all of a sudden we're saying we don't want to spend our money unless we see that the people that own these corporations are actually listening and then they're not racially radicalizing certain issues. And in this case, he was elected to do just what he's doing right now. And that might be uncomfortable. And yes, you're saying that some businesses might just move because it's better.
A lot.
And time will tell, right? But certain policies like this have to start somewhere. So we can't just say, oh, we're going to give all the rich people a break because poor them and we don't want them to leave. It's just like in Canada, right? Like if you're looking at certain tax breaks and we're saying we don't want certain people leaving because it's easier and there's a brain drain to
that's what they proposed at the Liberal Convention. We're gonna penalize the youth if they get an education here and leave.
So there's certain things that people will bring up, right? That people will have a conversation just like this dialogue right now, right? So for us to just say and hypothesize everyone's just going to leave and it's not going to work.
No, it's already happening.
Right.
So this isn't hypothesizing. People and business decisions are being made to get out of New York City from the standpoint of what.
But not all. Like,
no, but there's a large chunk. Wait till you see.
Right.
Kathy Hochul went from giving a speech saying, if you don't like it, go to Florida. And now she's coming back and she's the governor of New York. And she's come back now and said, oh, we need to get people back from Florida.
Yeah, but at
So,
the same
so
time,
the threats of get out are now please come back.
yeah, but at the same time, those people that voted him in was because he said he was going to do policies like this.
Absolutely,
So-
but they're not. They don't understand the economics of the situation. Those who voted him in are.
I think they do.
That's,
I
well,
think
they're
they're
not.
poor,
He
and
got
they're
voted in because they
they're
got free bus
certain,
passes.
they're in certain classes that they want to be able to move out of those economic inequalities. And so what he's doing is noble. What he's doing is saying, yes, we need to move the mark. And that needs to happen. And whether or not people leave and then next time there's an election he's voted out, we'll see. But at the point in time, just to say it's awful and
Well, I don't even know if they'll be able to afford an election in New York by the time this is done.
We'll definitely have to see.
Yeah, I mean,
More to come with that, right?
From the standpoint of, his first thing that got all the got the voters about the bus passes, free bus passes, that was the first thing that went. Like, it was gone right away. So someone who said, hey, listen, he's going to give me free transit, he took that off the table and wait a minute, holy geez, we can't pay for this.
Well,
Like,
again,
what else is he going to find he
there's
can't pay
certain
for?
policies that you can put forward, and if all of a sudden your advisors around you are like, you actually can't do that, well, then he can't move forward. But if he wants to find other ways and means, and if that's taxing someone that has more to give to those that don't, that's something that he can take from his toolbox.
Yeah, he
that
will
he's
when they're in
using,
Florida.
Right. Well. Well, this episode unpacked a lot of those hot topics that we love to discuss, and we don't always reach a conclusion where we agree, but I hope that you enjoy listening to both sides. So thank you so much for joining us on the Party Lines, and we'll see you next week.